Hey guys, Chad here from CNR Reviews. We have the Remington 700 SPS Tactical here, chambered in 223. It's time to do the final review. Ryan and I have played with this firearm for a couple months now, and we got to tell you, we're very impressed with it. This is our second bolt gun that we have reviewed. Our first one was the Ruger American and chambered in 308, and I decided to go with a tactical option instead of doing a hunting rifle. Now the difference between this and a hunting rifle is that it has a 20-inch bull barrel. The bull barrel is a lot thicker than the standard low-profile barrel that comes with a hunting rifle, and what makes it nice and what the big difference is that I can do sustained fire, meaning I can continue to load and shoot rounds, and the barrel just does not heat up as fast as a standard hunting rifle. Standard hunting rifle, you may only be able to get 5-10 rounds out of the gun before it starts putting up huge groups. So the barrel's heating up, the groups are starting to spread. Now with this version, because of the ability to do sustained fire, you can put 25 rounds through the firearm and the groups still stay nice and tight. And the barrel is just nice and warm to the touch instead of so hot it'll burn your skin off. Now this has been Duracoated. If you've seen our other Remington 700 videos, you know we had some issues with surface rust. It wasn't a huge deal. It never caused any pitting or anything like that on the firearm, but it is due to Remington's finish. And this is not the first Remington we've experienced this on. We've also experienced it on 2870s that were both Duracoated as well. So we chose Tactical OD Green. Hopefully you can see that color on there. I actually have better videos showing the color if you want to see it outside in daylight. I still notice that I get some surface rust here on the bolt handle. It's not a huge deal. I like to apply a lot of oil to the whole bolt area. And then before I shoot, I'll just wipe off that oil before I start messing with it, and then to make sure I do put a lot of oil there, because I've noticed there's a lot of surface rust on this bolt handle. I chose to go with a Weaver full top mount rail instead of deciding to go with just the singles, which you can purchase. These do not come with the firearm. You basically just get the rifle. You have to then purchase a top mount rail to then be able to mount your scope. I chose to go with this one because I liked the way it looked. It still gives me enough access to load rounds, because you have to load the rounds from the top of the chamber instead of having a detachable mag. The Remington 700 does not have that. As far as mounting a scope on here, it is really important that you do not get a large objective scope unless you plan on running high scope rings, especially with a setup like this. And the reason is I did not have enough eye relief with the scope I had. I had a very large objective. I ended up having to cut the rail to make this thing fit, and I fought with getting different scope rings the entire time. When I finally got it figured out, though, it ran perfect. I decided to go with a Burris full field 4.5 to 14 by 40 millimeter objective. I probably wouldn't run that again on this firearm. I would go with something else like a Nikon Buckmaster or a Loophole or something like that. Actually, even Redfield's got a new tactical scope out that is very interesting. I might even run that on there. It's designed for a 55 grain 223 round. Now, that is one of the reasons why I decided to go with the 223 chambering. Not only is it less expensive, unfortunately with the way the mass hysteria is right now, even 223 rounds are pricey, but you used to be able to get them for about $5.99, $6.99 a box of 20 when compared to all the other calibers. So it's nice if you're just doing plinking, just doing friendly competitions, or you plan on doing some varmint hunting. Unfortunately in Washington State, you cannot take down any big game with a 223. You have to at least have a 243. So be aware of that. Other than that, this firearm is sitting in a Hogue stock that came standard with the 700. I like this stock. And I actually own this identical same stock for my 1022, and I hate it for the 1022. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the difference in the trigger pull or something. But for the Remington 700, this thing is growing on me. I absolutely love it. I do recommend getting some type of cheek rest or something like that here, because this rubber, you do a lot of shooting, you get any type of friction, it'll start to take off your skin. So just be aware of that. It comes with a nice recoil pad here. I mean, good Lord, that thing is huge. And when considering that there's very little recoil to begin with on a 223, it makes it feel like a 22. So very impressed with that. Let's talk about the bolt a little bit and the trigger. The bolt never got to be super smooth. Even though we put quite a few rounds through this firearm, it's not bad by any means, and it's not gritty either. It has a decent smoothness, but it kind of pushes down a little bit on the magazine, so you get a little bit of friction that maybe you don't get so much with like a Tikka T3 or maybe even like the Ruger American. So for me, it's not super smooth. It's not bad though. It's just okay. As far as the trigger goes, the trigger is adjustable. To adjust the trigger, there is a little Allen screw down here in the trigger guard right at the top of the trigger. It is a horrible place for that. If you start to loosen it to lighten the trigger, it starts to become an issue. You can actually feel it a little bit with your trigger finger if you ride your trigger finger high. As far as the trigger goes itself, it's not the greatest trigger in the world, but what makes the 700 so nice is that there's tons of aftermarket parts. There's so many different iterations of this and variations of this firearm. There's so many variations of this firearm that they have made tons of accessories, and so you have the ability to go to aftermarket triggers if that's what you prefer. Now, with this stock trigger, let's talk a little bit about accuracy. Ryan and I were easily able to obtain half-inch groupings, three-quarter-inch groupings, one-inch groupings. The half-inch groupings weren't all the time. The three-quarter-inch groupings weren't all the time, but we were pretty consistent in keeping one-inch groupings, especially when you consider that because of the sustained fire, even after 15, 20 rounds, I was still getting around an inch grouping, and I was very impressed. And that is using cheap Federal 223 American Eagle 55 grain ammo, and that is very impressive to me. A lot of these firearms require you to shoot some match grade ammo or something like that to be able to get those great groupings. We were able to get that out of some cheap ammo, and I've got zero complaints as far as that goes. I don't want to have to go buy that expensive ammo unless I intend to do some type of hunting with it, or if I'm going to be doing some type of competition. And so for me to get those groupings out of the cheap ammo, man, Ryan and I both were just amazed that the gun could do that. So let's talk a little bit about price. Now, with the quality that you're getting, you're getting up there in price as far as bolt gun goes. This one runs about $650 standard price. I've seen them go as high as $700. There are different versions of this that go way higher than that, and it all depends on what you're looking for. For me personally, I paid about $550 for this. They had this firearm on clearance at Cabela's at the end of November. So it is really worth your while to go and check out different stores, shop your mom and pop shops, shop your big box stores. I don't know if it's just because Remington was switching out the models to different models. I know they have changed a little bit on their stocks and stuff. But because of that, I got a screaming deal. And I honestly could not have been happier with this firearm. So guys, quality's there. The accuracy is there. The only complaint really is the rust on the firearm. So how well does this compete against other guns? Well, there's huge debates going on online. If you just type in Remington 700 or which bolt gun should I buy or something like that, you get ridiculous amounts of forums going, which one should I buy? Should I get a Savage? Should I get a Weatherby? Should I get a Tikka? Should I get a Remington? Should I get this one, that one, whatever? I couldn't believe how many forums and how many guys are actually looking for some type of advice on these firearms and which one to go with. I think as a beginner shooter, you could definitely go with this and get pretty decent groups as long as you follow your fundamentals. There really shouldn't be too many issues. And Remington does have a pretty decent track record. That is not saying that you won't get one that doesn't shoot very well. I mean, you always hear about horror stories with all of the firearms. It doesn't matter what brand. But to let you know, this is not the only Remington 700 223 that we have shot. One of our shooting buddies, Mike, you may have seen him in some of our videos. Mike has the identical same one, puts up the exact same groupings, has had zero issues just like us. So that's two of them that function perfectly, and I would go and buy a third and be totally okay with it. There are other options out there, but for sustained fire, the Remington 700, it's not too expensive, and I think if that's what you're looking for a tactical firearm, this is perfect. Other than that, guys, this is Chad from CNR Reviews. Check out our channel. If you have any other questions regarding the 700, let us know. We actually didn't do a lot of videos with this firearm, and partially that's because I ran out of time. I am actually selling this to a good friend of mine that he's just back from Afghanistan. He got a chance to shoot this firearm, fell in love with it. He can't find it anywhere, so Ryan and I are just going to sell it to him. So, but you may see this again in the future in a little competition video with some of our buddies. So if you want to know more, feel free to ask. And this is Chad from CNR Reviews. Have a good day.